The war was over. Not the kind of war that fills history books, but the kind that burns quietly through towns, over dusty trails, and in the hearts of desperate people. I'd spent the last 3 months tracking down a gang of outlaws who had made the Arizona Territory a living hell. They'd raided settlements, robbed mail coaches, and torched the schoolhouse in a small town I once called home. They took lives, innocent ones, and that was something I couldn't stand by and watch. I brought them down one by one, not for glory, not for gold, just for justice. But justice doesn't always come clean. When I rode back into town, my horse dragging 2 outlaw bodies behind him, the folks cheered like I was some kind of savior. The sheriff clapped me on the back with a grin so wide it didn't fit his face. "You did the whole damn territory a favor," he said, "and we reckon you deserve a reward." I didn't expect much, maybe a few coins, a meal, or a new saddle, but what they gave me made my blood go cold. They brought them out from the jailhouse, wrists bound with rope, walking slow and barefoot across the dry earth. 2 young women, tall, slim, their skin the color of rich clay, long raven black hair tied back, eyes like smoke and fire. They looked about 20, maybe less, and they were identical. "Apache twins," the sheriff said proudly, like he was handing over a pair of hunting dogs. "Sisters, belong to the outlaw chief you shot, property of the gang. Now they're yours." I didn't say a word, just stared at them. They didn't flinch, didn't cry, they just looked back at me, hollow and tired, their dignity somehow still intact. "Belonged?" I asked slowly. "They were passed around the gang," he shrugged. "Now they're your reward." I looked at the sheriff, then the townspeople behind him. They were smiling, nodding, clapping. I wanted to spit. I took the reins of the 2 horses they were tied to and led them out of town. I said nothing on the ride. The girls said nothing either. Their eyes never left the horizon. They didn't beg, didn't plead, didn't even glance at me. When we got back to my ranch, a small place just past the river, a cabin, a stable, some land, I dismounted and walked to them. "You're safe here," I said. My voice was quiet but firm. "I didn't ask for you. I didn't want you. You're not slaves. You're not property. You're free." They blinked, confused. I cut the ropes from their wrists. They didn't move. "You can sleep in the barn tonight," I offered. "Food's inside if you're hungry. Water in the trough. No one will hurt you here." I turned and walked away. I could feel their eyes on my back, unsure, unbelieving. That night I left a plate of cornbread and beans at the barn door. In the morning the plate was empty. They hadn't run. Days passed like that. They said nothing. Just helped with chores, feeding the chickens, cleaning stalls, drawing water. They didn't ask, didn't demand. They simply worked. Then one morning as I was sharpening a blade by the porch, the one with the thinner braid stepped up to me. "My name is Narlene," she said softly. I looked up. She was tall, proud, sun-kissed, with eyes sharp as flint. I nodded. "I'm Will." She nodded back. That evening, her sister spoke as we gathered near the fire. "Alakwa," she said, pointing to herself. "Your names are beautiful," I said. They exchanged a glance, surprised by the word beautiful, as if no one had said that to them in years. "Why?" Alakwa asked. "Why are you letting us go?" I took a breath. The night was quiet except for the crickets and the wind whispering through the dry grass. "Because I didn't bleed to fight monsters, just to become one," I said. They sat beside me in silence, their legs pulled up beneath them. For the first time, I saw the tension leave their shoulders. The next day they moved from the barn into the spare room. I didn't ask them to. They just did. Narlene started singing while she worked, soft songs in her native tongue. Alakwa carved little figures from wood and left them on the windowsill. I didn't ask about their past. They didn't ask about mine. But there was something healing about the quiet. One afternoon, I found Nalin sitting by the creek with tears on her cheeks. I didn't speak, just sat beside her. After a while, she whispered, "They killed our father, took us when he wouldn't trade horses." I nodded, staring at the flowing water. "You remind me of him," she added. That night I left the door unlocked, not because I expected danger, but because I wanted them to know they could come and go freely. Weeks passed. They smiled more, laughed even. They began to cook meals with herbs they found nearby, things I'd never tasted. Sweet roots, wild onions, a spice they called dena. My ranch began to feel less like a shelter and more like a home, but I knew it couldn't last. Freedom is like a wild horse. It needs to run, not be kept. One morning, over coffee, I told them, "When the time comes, I'll help you go wherever you want." They looked up surprised. "You're not prisoners," I said. "You never were." Alakwa whispered, "You gave us back our names." I nodded. "You gave me back my peace." That night, under the stars, I saw them dance, not for me, not for anyone, just for themselves. A slow, swaying movement around a small fire, feet to the dirt, arms to the sky. It wasn't a performance, it was a prayer. And I knew then they were healing. I went inside and let the night have them. The seasons turned like pages in a quiet book. The grass grew tall and gold, then turned silver under frost. Time passed gently, without cruelty. That fall, the twin sisters Nalin and Alakwa remained on the ranch, not because they had to, but because they chose to. Some mornings I'd find Alakwa mending clothes or fixing the saddle straps. Nalin had taken to drawing patterns in the soil, symbols from her people, she told me. "They are for strength," she said once, "so this place doesn't forget us when we go." That line stayed with me, because deep down I knew they would leave. They were not mine to keep, and I never wanted to. But before they could leave, trouble came looking for them. It was late November when the riders arrived. 3 men, lean and mean-looking, with the posture of bounty hunters and eyes full of cruelty. I was chopping firewood when they came up the hill, dust trailing behind them. "Looking for a pair of redskins," one said without dismounting. 2 girls, real pretty, got away from a military transfer. You seen 'em?" I didn't answer. The second man spit tobacco juice near my boots. "We heard they were rewarded to someone round this way. Know anything about that?" I tightened my grip on the axe. "Ain't no slaves here," I said slowly. "Ain't no prisoners either." The third one chuckled. "Don't matter, they're government property, and there's a reward if we bring 'em back." "They're not cattle," I said. The man's face hardened. "You hiding 'em?" I didn't reply. Didn't have to. He stepped forward. "We'll search the place." I raised the axe slowly and pointed with it. "Step on my land again, and the only thing you'll be taking home is a limp." They all went quiet. Then, after a tense pause, the first one shrugged. "We'll be back with papers." They rode off in a cloud of threat and grit. That night, I told the sisters what happened. They didn't speak. They just stood there in silence, side by side, eyes reflecting the firelight. "I won't let them take you," I said. But Nalin shook her head. "They will keep coming." "We can't let you fight for us," Alakwa said. "You've already done enough." I looked at them both. "You think I'd let wolves take in what I helped heal?" They said nothing, but the pain on their faces told me everything. They'd known this would happen. They'd lived their lives running. The next morning, we started planning. I gathered maps, supplies, and horses. We packed quietly. I gave them everything I could spare: money, food, warm clothing, a compass, and most importantly, freedom on their terms. "You'll need to head west first," I said, pointing at the map. "There's a pass through the mountains no soldier or hunter will dare cross in winter. You can make it." They nodded. I didn't ask where they'd go after that. It didn't matter. What mattered was that they chose. Just before they left, Nalin placed something in my hand. A small wooden carving, an eagle, wings outstretched, carved from the branch of the tree she used to sit under. "For you," she said, "to remind you we were real." I swallowed hard. You don't have to thank me. We do, Alakwa said, because you saw us. They hugged me then, each one placing a hand on my chest over my heart, and walked into the rising sun. I watched until they were two specks on the horizon. The winter was long and sharp, the nights colder without the quiet clatter of dishes, the whisper of Apache songs by the hearth, or laughter rising from the barn. The house felt too big, the silence too wide. I kept working, mended fences, fed the livestock, chopped wood until my hands bled. I didn't hear from them for months. Then one spring morning, just after the snow melted, a rider approached my ranch. Not a bounty hunter this time. It was a boy, maybe 16, carrying a letter in a worn leather pouch. "Message for Will McCarty," he said. I opened it with shaking hands. It was written in English, but the script was clean, curved, and thoughtful. "Dear Will, we made it, across the mountains, to a place where our people still remember us. A land where our language lives in the wind, and the fire still dances for us. We are safe now, free in the way our ancestors dreamed of. We made a home near Santa Fe. A healer there taught us the old ways. Nalin teaches children now. Alakwa helps women who were taken like us. You didn't save us like some hero from a dime novel. You just gave us space to breathe, to remember who we were. That was more powerful than any rescue. You gave us back our names, our spirit, our dignity. You gave us back ourselves. You will always be our brother, not by blood, but by spirit. Come visit if your heart ever wanders this way. With fire and grace, Nalin and Alakwa." I folded that letter with shaking hands, sat down on the porch with the eagle carving in my palm. A breeze passed through the trees, and for a moment I swore I could hear their laughter again. Years went by. I never took another reward, never hunted men again. The land grew quiet, the wars less frequent, but their stories stayed with me. Sometimes folks would come through town and talk about a pair of Apache women helping poor families near Santa Fe, educating children, healing the sick, rescuing stolen girls. I never told anyone I knew them. Didn't have to, because I knew the truth. I knew where they came from, and I knew what they carried, the fire of their people, the pain of their past, and the freedom they had earned. Not given, earned. And every winter, when the nights grew long, I would light a fire in their honor, sit by the warmth with their eagle carving in one hand and their letter in the other. I never regretted letting them go. I only thank God I was the one who got to set them free.